Good morning, everybody. These angles are all messed up, man. I can't figure it out.
I know I'm sitting on my shirt, which I didn't know about.
Anybody else have an at-home studio where it changes every day because you put it all away and then you bring it back in and then you have to figure it all out every morning as if you've never touched it in your life? That's what we got going on here.
Yay for quarantine offices or for working from home, social distance.
Yeah. Cheers, mate. Yes, exactly. Hey, how you doing?
Good morning.
I'm assuming from Baltimore? Assuming?
That could be their name.
That's true. That's true. Hi, Nadita. How are you?
Good morning. Actually, good afternoon.
Yes.
Nadita.
Or maybe evening even.
5-ish, I think.
Yeah.
5 p.m.
Yes. Was it 10 hours difference? Mm-hmm. Anyway, it's good to see you. Hello over on Facebook as well. Good morning. So, can I tell our story here? So we were about to go live and we had a little mosquito hawk that had gotten into the studio area. Hello. We had a little mosquito hawk that got into our area. And if you don't know what a mosquito hawk is, it's a insect that eats other insects. It eats mosquitoes. And so I
like them.
Yeah, we like them a lot. We don't want to hurt them. We want to make sure that they are doing their job around our house, especially. But I didn't want to
really kill bugs. We rehome, we move them back outside of the house usually.
And so I wanted to do this too. And she, I went and took care of that, and she was busy doing something. And so I came back and I said, oh, I'm sorry. At first, we looked at the mosquito hawk, and Terry said, you know, his name has got it. It's definitely Elizabeth. Like, that's the name of that mosquito hawk. And so we were like, okay.
Felt right.
And so a second later, she was doing something. I went and got rid of the mosquito hawk, caught it, took it outside. It flew away. It was happy. And then came in and I said, I got rid of him. And she's like, who? What? What's going on? I was like, Elizabeth, he's gone. She's like, what? So I love how quickly that, like, in the...
I miss Elizabeth.
The span of 60 seconds, we made up Elizabeth's name. And then we got rid of Elizabeth, and then we forgot about Elizabeth.
But they were just sitting
and then we remembered about Elizabeth, and then we laughed about Elizabeth. So, yes. Yay.
Hi.
Well, good morning, and welcome to the We're Better When We Come Together
morning show
with Dr. Terry Murphy
and Chris Murphy.
That's the two of us coming live.
Little jazz hands, just like a little bit of jazz hands.
I like jazz hands.
I like a jazz hand.
Absolutely.
I can't complain. You are joining us for Attachment Week. This entire week we are talking about attachment theory, the basics of attachment. And even though we started out talking about it in childhood, we're really talking about it here as adult attachment. Adult attachment. And so we're going to keep chatting about that the rest of this week and next week and for the rest of our lives.
And most specifically, we're talking about them within our relationships in adulthood.
Yeah.
Especially romantic partnerships and relationships in adulthood. So,
you do not need to be in a romantic partnership, though, for this to apply to you. It's just a way into the conversation.
Right.
So this is just the route we're taking as couple therapists. That makes sense.
We're a couple of therapists. We're also a couple therapist, and we do couples therapy as couples therapists.
My brain melted and is lodged to the right side now.
Well, we're a couple, and we're therapists. And we are couple therapists, and we're a couple of therapists doing couples therapy as a couple being therapists.
I've read this Dr. Seuss book. I've read that one.
I'm about to go do a children's book about the couple therapists.
I think that's great. Why not?
Yeah.
Welcome. We're so glad you're here. We're so glad that you're here. So let's just check in. Let's start right from the top here. Let's just do a check-in. And so what I want to do, let's practice this. I want you to bring your awareness to your body. Bring your awareness to your body because
I'm going to do that with my eyes closed.
Yeah, feelings live in your body. Sometimes it does help to close your eyes so that you can drop your awareness down. Pete Holmes teaches about mindful awareness in kind of a funny way. He's like, have you ever had to check to see if you need to go to the bathroom? That's how you turn your focus inward.
Ooh,
into
like
your
that.
body. So
like
if you can check and see if you need to go to the bathroom, where are you checking? Who's looking there? It's you, right? So you can also check in, scan your body. Like you can do it from the top of your head to the bottoms of your feet. And all that you're checking for is literally any sensation. Any sensation at all. Could be pleasing. Maybe it's displeasure, discomfort. It could be peace and calm. Right? Like, can you feel your shoulders? Can you feel your arms, your heart, your stomach? And typically where our organs are, in this central part of our body, we carry a lot of emotion too. So if you're noticing an emotion coming up as well, just notice it without judging it, without trying to fix it or change it or even to make sense of it. This is not what we're doing yet. Before we make meaning, we first need to let ourselves really feel what's happening inside. So just check in. How are you feeling? And then what we do is we just rank it from 1 to 10. Where does that feeling register for you on a scale? What?
Now that
Are you laughing at how I teach with my hands?
I am.
I can't
So something.
speak or talk or teach without using
Or
my
move
hands.
or breathe.
What
or,
if I did an entire morning show with my hands tied behind my back?
no one would know who you are. We're like, who is that woman with Chris? Because that is
And why
definitely not
can't she
Jerry.
teach? Because I don't understand anything she's talking about.
You know, you would be.
It's for me, okay? My hand movements, they're for me to understand what's really happening.
But we all benefit. If you ever got arrested and were handcuffed, that would be your least effective mode of communicating ever.
Yeah.
Just don't get arrested then.
Okay,
So
fine.
you can continue to
So I can
communicate
keep
at the level
talking.
that you need to. Yes.
Yeah, Caitlin, a rough few days instead of a number of word recovering. Oh,
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, I want to honor the fact that you are doing what you need to do, and a word is perfect. Yes, thank you for sharing that.
What about you?
Me, I think I'm at an 8 this morning. I woke up ready to go, I was just
Like you leaped out of bed.
pretty much.
Nice.
Yeah, I kind of did that thing who is it, Johnny from Karate Kid? When he gets knocked down, he falls on his back and he takes his hands on the back and pushes up and
flips.
kind of flips up. That's what I felt like I did. But if you saw the reality of it, I looked like a little old man just barely figuring out how to walk. I've been having issues with walking recently, and I know that
I
sounds
was about
weird.
to complain about me.
Really?
Aw. Look at us together.
Did I take your spotlight away?
No.
Okay.
Carry on.
Math isn't my strong suit. Yeah.
I was about
I
to
hear
say,
ya.
I just was saying I sneezed 100 times in the last 24 hours, and then my throat is a little tickly. So I don't know if y'all do this, but of course, in the middle of a global pandemic, we have been around nobody. But my thoughts go all the way to I've, gotten sick, and it's definitely COVID and feels really scary. So I feel a little wiggy. I don't really have a number. I have I don't know, adrenaline kind of shooting through my body right now. I want to wake up more and just figure out more of who I am.
I hear you.
But balancing that with, some love of some creativity things that I'm engaging in right now that are not for public sort of offerings. They're really just for my own creative recovery. And that has been so fun. It took me 5 weeks, really, to fully enjoy my artist state from Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way.
It took you that long to enjoy it?
5 weeks.
What did you feel, though, that you were not worthy of it? Did you just not know what to do?
I did not want to do it.
You were bored? Okay.
No, I just didn't want to.
I enjoyed it from day one, baby.
Well, yeah.
Driving off into the sunset, just boop, bop, bop, boop. Having a good time.
Well, you know what? Not all of us can be so laissez-faire about everything.
I thought you were going to say
Or
blase.
blase. That's really what I think I mean.
Laissez-faire is my
I actually
t-shirt.
don't know what laissez-faire means, except it felt in my body what is a cigarette that goes in one of those long holders where you're just sitting in a French cafe with a beret, spewing poetic nonsense.
Yeah.
And having a carefree life.
Yeah.
That's how I picture you are on your rides.
That sounds like my perfect life. I want this life now. Can I have a baguette to go with it? Maybe some Nutella? Because that's what I need in my world.
Okay, I thought of something really funny this morning that I made myself laugh. So I don't know if you'll find it funny, but I'm going to pass along this joy to you.
Bring it.
I was thinking this morning that we're in July. What would we usually be doing if it wasn't a global pandemic? Well, Chris and I love planning and dreaming and thinking about, right? Long, just that black, a Hollywood starlet from the
Yeah,
1950s.
I think I have too thick of a mustache, though, because I would like to have one of those thin mustaches.
Who thinks Chris should shave his mustache into a thin pencil and then smoke a long cigarette Maybe all of the month of August, you have to be completely in your artist state for singing.
I will do that. I don't know about all of August, but I
don't
definitely
know.
will.
But it's supposed to be alone. I don't know. What was I just talking about?
We've got votes coming in.
Yes.
All right.
What was I just talking? Oh, my funny thing.
Yeah,
Okay,
your funny
so
joke.
I was thinking this morning in July, what would we usually be doing? Well, we love to go back through and see the sort of ideas, and like we very loosely hold goals and, you know, planning and that sort of thing. Very flexible, but it is nice for us. Like, we love to dream and to go deep and to talk and to think about things like that. So I was just thinking this morning how ridiculous it would be to be like, all right, we're checking in on New Year's resolutions. How you doing? How's everything going? And I was just like laughing to myself, like, how's your New Year's resolutions? How are they going? Do you even remember New Year's?
I do. And if you go back 6 months ago to the beginning of the year, here on the Come Together Morning Show, we did a whole series about planning out your year and getting excited about it and looking back on the past year and
In
seeing
a
what went right and wrong.
non-hustle
Yeah,
kinda
just
way.
like let's think of what we want the year to look like. And then COVID hits and we've done 0 of them. I mean,
hot. My gosh.
you're wearing several layers of clothes. I can see
But
why.
I was cold right before.
I'm sorry.
This happens every day.
So just a few months ago, we were talking about what 2020 would look like, and now here we are, just like I don't even
Some
know.
beetle just got botulism in some country, and I was like, it didn't even like raise my alarm 1 number. I was like, yeah, I know. That's the plague of the botulism beetles now. Like, whatever.
No, the bubonic plague is what it was.
Yeah, that's what it was.
There is a
That
little
makes
bit of
more
a difference.
sense. All these beetles getting Botox, you know. I don't know why. They have shiny shells. They look fantastic.
They look amazing. They look rejuvenated.
Oh my gosh. Someone just push me down some stairs and wake me up in 2020.
Nah, we're good. We're gonna hold tight. We're gonna keep
Okay.
moving forward.
All right.
And yes,
I'm with
2020 is. I'm ready to go ahead and start planning 2021 as if 2020 didn't happen. But I know that it did, and there's no way we can put it back in the bottle, and I'm already scared.
Spit taked when you just said
Well,
that.
don't do all
I
that.
spitted in that direction.
do all that.
Did I get it on you?
No, there's nothing. We're looking at
Really
nothingness.
lucky.
All right, so thank you for checking in.
Yeah, that's
I love the fact that we can use 1 through 10 as a check-in. We can use an emoji as a check-in.
Use a color.
We can use a color. You can use a word.
An
You can use a
animal.
whole phrase or sentence. The whole point of it is hopefully to get us to a point where we are thinking about where we are and not just putting our lives on autopilot, which I am apt to do. If I don't make a point, oftentimes Monday through Friday, to sit here with you all and go, how am I feeling? Oftentimes I'll get through the day and like, I don't know what even happened. And I'll realize that like, even though I talk about it a lot, it still is easy for me to forget what I need to do for myself. So I'm proud of everybody for checking in and doing that.
such a big deal, yeah.
Yes, or we could just do 2921 and move 900 years into the future. I like that idea
I
too.
feel like we'll still be quarantined. This is just going to be, it's just
Or maybe not
Fahrenheit
here as a-
451. I really want to reread it because I'm fairly sure that my high school brain, you know, in reading that book was like, this is ridiculous. None of this is ever going to be it. And it like kind of is.
Yeah.
Wasn't there recently a remake? Was it Will Smith?
For what?
Fahrenheit 451.
I don't think so. I think that there's a lot of movies that try to be their own version of Fahrenheit 451.
It's just so
but
brilliant. Did
it's
y'all
not been
read that?
remade.
Did you read it for high school?
But I think it is actually, now that you say that, I think it is coming out. And I don't know.
It's coming out.
I think so. I could be wrong.
Y'all, why are you here?
Hey,
We
good
don't
morning,
know what we're
Amanda.
talking
Good to
about
see you.
except for we love you, and it's just exactly like having coffee with us. This would be it.
I don't know what they're talking about with the sailors, but I feel like I need to look that up.
Bonham Richard.
Bonamy Ricard, Bonamy Richard. I don't know. So
don't know.
forgive the butchering of the
So
pronunciation.
it looks like maybe
but-
there's a storm.
Okay.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Well, thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Also,
I'm
there
gonna
was
look that
a
up as soon as we
child
get off
who,
live.
at the end of the school year, a black child got sent to juvenile jail basically for not being able to finish their homework online and had ADHD and whatnot. So good grief, the ship's on fire. Yeah, the whole year's on fire. I feel bad for that ship too, and for this child who's been
Oh, in San
in
Diego.
prison. Oh gosh, are there people on it? Oh no.
Well, thank you for bringing it to our attention. I want to look at that.
God be with them.
Yeah. Well, then let's transition into attachment from here. And
I don't know. I gotta ride that emotional wave. You talk for a minute. I gotta feel it all. I felt that in my spleen.
well, as you, if you've been with us for the past couple of days, we've been talking about attachment theory, and this specifically how we attach to our partners. But if you don't have a partner, that's okay. We can extrapolate this to any relationship that we have, essentially. The research originally came from therapists, social workers, people in that field looking at children and how they
There's a
are
lot more research on childhood attachment.
secure
currently.
or insecure.
Yeah.
But there has been in the last 30 years a move to realize that this is not just something that we deal with in childhood and then we move on from that in adulthood. We still are dealing with that through our entire life. So there's been a lot of people that have done research on how it actually affects adult populations and adult relationships as well. So that's what we've been talking about this week. And, we like to try to break down these concepts in as simple a form as we can. And so a couple weeks ago, we were talking about what attachment style do you have? Are you a pursuer? Are you a withdrawer? Like, how do you deal with conflict in your relationships? And recently, just a few days ago, we started talking about the attachment style. Are you securely attached? Are you insecurely attached? And it's securely attached is almost 60% of the population. And then the other 43% are some form of insecure attachment, which can be anxiously attached. Now I'm drawing a blank here with some of the more nuances.
I'll get into it.
Yeah, but
I'm
we're going to
ready.
go into that from here. Good.
Yeah, Caitlin, I definitely think that our dogs 100% have attachment issues and stuff. Like our dog now,
Yeah.
he'll be on the front porch and we'll all be sitting out there. And if I just come in for water, he's like, uh-oh.
Why are you
oh my
leaving me
gosh,
forever?
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
She might be going inside. Yeah, I don't know. Like, just not fine.
Morning, Michelle.
He's consistently been around us since March 14th, so I think that, like literally every single day. I was thinking it would be fun for him to be able to have some play dates, and I was saying to Chris, because dogs don't get COVID, but then that's not true because there was that one dog that caught it too. So basically, everything is canceled except for like emotions.
Yeah, but we have been in the same building as our dog.
I just want to lay down, like, and be sad. It's
Okay.
just too much.
We can do this.
Oh,
I'm here for your sadness.
it's a lot.
Yeah, we've been in the same building as our dog, except for maybe 15 minutes where the four of us humans went and grabbed to-go dinner and then came back. But other than that, there's been someone in this house.
And I'm sure he was dysregulated that whole time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he doesn't know what it's like to be without us
Yeah.
at this point. Because in the last 6 months, he's not experienced any of that.
Yeah.
So,
I'm at the high end of my window of tolerance right now that is about to like flip out to the other side.
you bet to crash down? Well, okay.
That's fun. That's fun to do
What do you
right,
need?
right now. Just let's keep talking about attachment. It's
Good.
just all overwhelming.
We're here. I'm here. We're here.
We're right here.
And we are right here.
We're here in this moment. So yeah, Chris is right. We're going to talk about insecure attachment. And so if you missed it, on Monday and Tuesday, we started laying the foundation for what it is. And we started with secure attachment 2 yesterday. And I explained a little bit more of secure attachment yesterday. So we'll talk about the 3 different types in a little bit more depth today about insecure attachment. Let me change my shirt because I'm like sweating through this one. You talk for a minute. It's anxious, avoidant, and then
Yeah.
disorganized.
Well, I wanted to give, there's quite a few other people that are now on the live that weren't here about 10 minutes ago or so. So I want to give you the ability to check in if you need to, if you know what we're doing. 1 through 10, just how are you feeling today? 1 being not good, 10 being great. And then again, we started out doing this check-in every morning, Monday through Friday, with everybody in the community, and then throwing in just a number. But then we moved it to like if an emoji better expresses how you're feeling, we'll do that. And then we can move it on from words, phrases, sentences, just telling us how you feel. We just wanted to give the easiest way of entering into like checking in with ourselves and feeling how we are today, and then asking ourselves, regardless of what that number is, what do I need now? And so it's checking in with that. So good morning. Oh, Amanda, 7.5. Thank you very much. Yeah, I came in with an 8 today, and I for whatever reason, I woke up with all of this energy. And for the last like week, I've been waking up at about the same time with the same amount of rest, with the same amount of activity that I'm doing throughout the day. But I woke up really lethargic and low. But for whatever reason, this morning I woke up again. Whatever was going on, there's not a lot different going on in my world. But I woke up with all this hard charging energy, and so I'm not exactly where that came from. I try to like one of these things that we do by checking in is like really thinking through where we're at and what we need, and kind of remembering that, notating it. For me, I like to look at it and go like, okay, I feel like I'm at an 8 today. A couple days ago I was at a 4. What did I do differently? Was I doing something that was like a bad habit, or did I not eat well, or did I not sleep well? And kind of see if there's any of those activities coming into my life that is affecting my number. But no, not a lot different today, but I'm feeling a lot different. So I don't know if you experienced that, but that's where I was. Okay. Thank you for saying that. Well, 5-ish, that's good. Well,
My favorite number.
Yeah, if that's your baseline, but hey, I hope that you got the rest that you needed, even if that gave you a 5 starting out the day. So.
Right here. I changed my shirt. I just sweat through my last one, so.
All right, diving back into attachment theory, and I'll let you go.
Okay, so the insecure forms of attachment, if you remember, there's avoidance and there's anxiety. And you can see this. I posted about this Monday. Let's talk about attachment.
On Instagram, for all you Facebookers.
Facebook.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yes.
So everyone has it. It's available everywhere. But if you look at the graph, the sort of diagram of attachment, you can see the quadrant that you fall into. So the dimensions are anxiety and avoidance. When anxiety is high, you feel it in your body. You are in a state of arousal. So like what I was just talking about, at the high end of your window of tolerance. Just like a little side note, if you hear me say window of tolerance, what I'm saying is there is a margin. There is a space.
I'll do it like this.
Yeah, there's this space here. I actually like it.
Okay.
Like that, actually, a little bit more.
Yep.
Where this is high and this is low. And what happens is if you're within this range, you're emotionally regulated. You can breathe, you can think at the same time, you can be in the same room with other people, you can relate. There may be some discomfort at the high and the very low ends. This middle point is like all green lights, everything is good, just breathing, walking around, feeling okay. When you're at this high end of your window of tolerance up here, that's more anxious. And when it starts to get at this edge or even higher, what you need is the ability to center yourself, to be able to ground, to bring you from outside over the top of your window back into your window. So when babies cry for food or to be changed, they're up here. And actually their window of tolerance is like this. So like they are wet, they cry, they're out of their window. They're hungry, they're already out here. They need some touch or to be held, they're out here. But if you have healthy, safe caregivers in your life, you're securely attached, your caregivers are available to you. You know that when you cry out, they respond to you. They're emotionally engaged, looking you in the eyes, mirroring, talking back to you. Your window widens, right? And so there's a bigger range that you can tolerate. So you can have higher highs and lower lows. You can be happy and joyful and excited without getting shamed or shut down or feeling guilt or any of that. And you can feel sad. You can be angry. Any of the emotions are kind of okay here. At the bottom of your window, if you fall out the bottom here, it's numbness, it's hypoarousal, you're more shut down. When you can you freeze a little bit, like you can kind of not put words to things, like it just feels kind of foggy. You might want to go to sleep. You might even fall asleep mid-conversation. And so down here, it's not as anxious, right? It's more shut down. So therapy really is about widening your window of tolerance and helping you develop enough resources so that you know what to do to live a lot of your life here. And when you do get triggered, because everybody does, and you get out of your window, you know what you need to bring you back in here. The number one best way to get from outside your window back in your window is through co-regulation with another nervous system that feels safe, secure, and steady. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was really helpful.
I got to be honest with you. That was the most working out that I've done in like 3 months. So my body is on fire right now.
Hey, you got that New Year's resolution. That's fantastic. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about window of tolerance. Yeah, visuals are like, I need to paint something about that.
I really like this actually.
So yeah, because I think, well, you know how I love a definition. It's the old chemist in me. So when we're talking about insecure attachment, will you put your hands back out?
Yep.
I really like that. We're going to work Chris out just a little bit more. When you are both anxious or avoidantly attached or fearful avoidant, the more disorganized attachment, when you find yourself outside this window, you don't do the same things typically that someone securely attached would do. If you're outside of this window and you're anxiously attached, thank you, what you're going to do is you're going to seek proximity, physical, emotional, some sort of proximity. So it could be you text and you don't maybe even just text one person, you text 50 people to help you get feedback, to help you know that you're okay.
Yeah.
Or you text the same person over and over and over again, you know, that when your anxiety is high, you look outside of yourself. Someone else needs to manage what's happening inside of me. Because remember the message yesterday, I'm not okay, but you are.
Yeah.
So you're looking for that steady, safe other. So you do that when you're securely attached too, but here's the difference. Okay, secure or anxious ambivalent. If I'm securely attached and I'm dysregulated like I just was, I can look at my partner and be like, you got this, and I know that he's gonna have it, and I can walk off, I could change my shirt, like it literally just happened right now. And I know he's okay, and he looked at me, and I know if I needed to end the show, we could end it. So he is available and responsive. He's emotionally engaged because he's looking at me, and I can see in his eyes that like, we're simpatico, you know, we're right there together. So my nervous system regulated, and I took some deep breaths, and I splashed some cool water on my face, and I'm back into my window because now I'm able to talk and I don't feel, and I cried just like a little bit in the kitchen. So I need to release stress. This is how I regulate. I need to make sure Chris and I are okay. And being able to go to my head like I'm doing now and to teach, to share, to like give in some way, all of those things are incredibly regulating to me. So if I'm securely attached, I can receive that care and I can release Chris to do what he needs to do. I don't need to continue hanging on to this physical proximity to know I'm okay. Do you feel that too?
Yeah.
When I'm more anxiously attached, anxious, ambivalent, what happens is Chris offers me the care, but when my anxiety stays up, it's hard for me to take it in, to let my nervous system calm down. Because the story is if I don't demand that he stays close and connected, he would never choose me, to be with me, to want me, to regulate me, to be here. I get anxious. So I have a legitimate need to be calmed and cared for. I ask for what I need. So anxious, ambivalent, I am going to ask for what I need. The difference is though, I cannot receive it. I can't take it in and let it actually calm my nervous system. Or I need him physically with me until it regulates, and I can't tolerate distance. So if then he goes to the bathroom or like wants to go work on his own project, my anxiety would pop me right back outside of that window of tolerance. So I can't tolerate the distance. Even when we're connected, I'm anxious. I'm anxious about what our relationship is about. What does it all mean? Because I'm hypervigilant. And the reason is, if you remember what we talked about yesterday, that my caregivers were most likely inconsistent in the care that they gave to me. About 20% of the adult population is truly anxious, ambivalent attachment. And there's ambivalence. Come here, give me what I need, and then anger and clinging. So I'm frustrated with you. It's never quite right because I really do think the reason I'm still anxious inside is your fault. That you didn't regulate me well enough, when it's really like displaced in some ways, that it's really towards our caregivers or culture, society, not really making this a safe enough place for my body to show up in. Thoughts on that?
No, I like the idea that sometimes I'm mad at the other person for showing up in that way. But I think that there is sometimes with some people a shame or a guilt that I actually need this. And so I get angry at the fact that I need anybody other than myself, that I can't regulate myself.
We're about to talk about this.
And so sometimes that anger pushes back and pushes the other person away in that ambivalent sort of way.
So if I'm anxious, ambivalent attachment, and I'm partnered up with someone avoidant, which is like a super popular, pairing, then the more that I'm anxious and need that regulation from my partner, the more that he needs to push it down and try to move away from the intensity to regulate himself. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about anxious ambivalent is high anxiety, low avoidance. I don't avoid our interactions. I don't avoid other people. I actually seek them out. And then the threat would be, hey, if you don't want to help soothe me, I can get somebody else to do it. Almost like a ultimatum, a bit of a threat.
Yep.
You can see this even in childhood. If you do not give me this thing, I'm going to scream or I'll yell or, whatever. There can be this sort of transactional thing with all three of the insecure attachment types.
Yeah.
So let's shift to avoidance. So instead of high anxiety, low avoidance, it's the exact opposite when we're talking about avoidant attachment. It is low anxiety, high avoidance. So in the body, your window of tolerance, do your hands again because I like them. Your window of tolerance is very narrow, if there's anything at all, for avoidant attachment. It's pretty narrow for anxious ambivalent and all maybe a line for fearful avoidant, but your window is very close, very short when you're avoidantly attached. And what's in here is really just okay, maybe slightly happy, and occasionally anger. That's it. Fear, sadness, grief, longings, hope, they are not here. Because what happens is when you're little, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday, when you aren't really responded to, in any sort of consistent way, then eventually those who are more avoidantly attached give up the idea that another human being will ever be the source of comfort or nurture. That I'm gonna have to take care of myself. And the tragedy about this is this usually happens in young childhood, when you could be 5. I remember at 5 years old, and I would say that my attachment style was probably more avoidant, that went through an anxious stage when my attachment system woke up when we were dating. And then we had to get healed secure through a lot of work. But avoidant when I was little, I remember at 5 years old, this thought crossing my mind that when I told my therapist, I didn't think it was any big deal. I thought this is how all kids were wired. But I told my therapist was like, oh. So the thought that I had was, at 5, I got to go to a good school. I'm going to study really hard and get good grades so that I can get out of here. I'm going to go get some sort of job where I can completely take care of myself and I will never have to count on my parents or anybody else ever again.
So you were essentially at 5 making plans for 10, 15 years down the road.
Yep.
That's a lot of pressure for a 5-year-old.
It is weird. I mean, I didn't know that wasn't a thing everybody did when I was a kid. You're so sort of focused as you're supposed to be. That's something that happens later in life. But I knew at 5 that I could not count on either of my parents to be the source of nurture, comfort, or care. They provided really well for me. I knew that I was safe when it came to that sort of thing, but emotionally and spiritually in some other ways, really not. Yeah. So then with avoidant attachment, life is good as long as things are easy, even keeled, and no one comes along to disrupt your calmness in your body. That safety in your own nervous system is identified as anything that is not getting in your way, no conflict, no drama, no emotion. We just don't do that. The focus is much more out here on tasks. There's also a bit of hypervigilance with avoidant attachment, but it's not because you're wanting proximity and closeness. It's actually hypervigilance around your autonomy. That I'm going to be noticing anything that is going to try and trap me, that is going to try and twist my words and take advantage of me. Anybody who is going to try and use me or need me for anything, who's going to suck my energy, anybody who is going to cross any of my boundaries. Usually avoidantly attached people have pretty good boundaries as a protective state from a young age. More naturally than any of the other sort of types. Secure attachment for sure, but any more of the insecure types. Anxious, ambivalent tend to have no boundaries at all because separation is the major threat. So if you're struggling with boundaries, it's a good question just to ask yourself too, is what would happen? What's my fear if I set this boundary? So with avoidant attachment, the big fear is of loss of self because the message is the exact opposite from anxious, ambivalent. Avoidance says, I'm okay, none of y'all are. You know, I don't trust anybody out there. So you can get in close because we are still all wired to be connected and bonded to each other. That doesn't go away. We're still wired for that. So what happens is I have the longing kind of pop up in me. I have some like wanting to be close to people. And so I can do it, but I can't tolerate it for a long time. Once someone starts to depend on me, or someone starts to want to hold me into some sort of accountability, which all relationships have accountability, period. If there's any sort of depth and intimacy, there's going to be a give and take. And if you're avoidantly attached, that is going to threaten the need to keep anxiety at baseline. Because you're going to bump into people. It's going to raise your anxiety. You're going to get a little more dysregulated within that window. So if you're truly avoidantly attached, the moment you have a bit of that dysregulation, you cut off the relationship. You ghost people, you break off romantic relationships, you get threatened if they're close, or if you stay in relationship, you keep people at arm's length. We're not moving in together, or if we do, like, I don't know about furthering this commitment, it could feel very trapping, very much like limiting you from your autonomy and your choices. And it's because that's the way you kept yourself safe. Think about it. If nurture and comfort and care weren't an option, what do you do to get your needs met?
Does any of this sound like you or somebody that you know? Like when you're hearing this, or you like, yeah, there we go. Does it sound like you, like, oh, I totally do this, and several of the different examples that Terry's given? Or does it sound like I wondered why that person did that?
You can
or
think
that,
of other relationships, friendships, work, people that you work with, family members, your own parents.
Sometimes it's easier
your
for
partner.
me to see it in someone else first.
Yeah.
So then I can recognize it in myself later.
Yeah.
So that's partly
I've
where I
been
jump
all
off
the
from.
attachment strategies at some point.
Oh yeah, I think I've been all of them in like one day, just
Yeah.
all over. Yeah.
You just have one that's basically your template. It's the way that you were formed. It's the most familiar. And you have to, because you have to be able to protect yourself in this world.
Yeah.
So it's not a bad thing. Insecure attachment develops as a protective mechanism, not because there's a flaw, right? It's a shield. It's
Yep.
not who you are. It is not your essence. It's not your heart. It isn't your personality, which is why it can always change. So when you heal, when you get safe and secure, when both avoidance and anxiety are low, but you have the flexibility to be able to tolerate because your window of tolerance has grown, then you shift into secure attachment, which is all that I do all day long, every single day with all of my clients, whether they're individuals or couples or families, is help people remove whatever the blocks are to heal and process whatever's keeping them from being how they are naturally biologically wired to be, which is securely attached. Yeah. So that warm feeling you feel in your chest when you've been with someone who accepts you exactly as you are and you feel like you could tell them anything and you don't mind them talking to you too, that feeling is like a moment of secure attachment, which I know every single human being has had, right?
Yeah. So hopefully the idea of going to therapy, having a close partner that you can share this with, a good friend, hopefully what it's doing is recognizing where we are, like what we've been talking about, and then hopefully over time, starting to widen that window of tolerance. So we can accept more, we can take in more, we can have a different experience when we come to similar circumstances, widening that window of tolerance. I've heard her talk about this for the last decade, widening the window of tolerance. And I think it's very important to recognize where we are on that continuum and what we need to help move forward.
Will you see what Amanda's asking before we talk about fearful avoidant attachment?
Sure.
Ooh, that was
There
so
we go.
close. Yeah, so Amanda, that makes a ton of sense. And Robin's saying a similar thing on Instagram too. So it isn't right or wrong, good or bad to move in, not move in. This is just about noticing and bringing your awareness and bringing your attention and then getting curious with yourself. So the best thing I could offer you would be to just be able to ask yourself like, hey, this is interesting. What is this about? What's the message around this? Because we all get messages in the moment when we're having those emotions pop up.
Yeah.
When we start to get a bit dysregulated, will you give me my window again?
Whoop.
When you're here, about to kind of pop up into here, we will a lot of times stop whatever the activity is, because that is one way to get in here. But what I'm asking is, can you do other grounding, centering things before you just make a decision, unless it's a safety one, and then go ahead and make it. But ask yourself, what is it about this situation that has me up here or down here? You know, that makes me want to just check out and go to sleep and ghost, or to cut things off, or to be anxious and clinging. What is happening inside? And then can you just make space for that emotion and just feel it? Thank you. The third and final insecure strategy is the most rare. It's less than 1% of the adult population, and these are usually trauma survivors. People who grew up in a way where your caregivers, or the people who were supposed to be your caregivers, were violent or abusive or neglectful instead. And so you can have experienced trauma and not find yourself fully in that attachment strategy. In infants and in young children, it's called disorganized. And I like that term a lot because that's how it feels inside. Disorganization. It's like, I can't even tell what's triggering me. First of all, I don't even know what the trigger is that's got me up here. So when I ask those questions like what's going on, I really don't know. It's confusing and overwhelming and baffling. And then I don't trust myself, so I can't self-regulate. And I don't trust others, so I can't really co-regulate. So what do you do when you're caught in that kind of situation? Because it absolutely will impact your ability to maintain work, to have relationships, to even be well enough in your physical body, to have enough ability to even possibly keep a job or to keep relationships, because trust has been broken for really good reasons. There's a lack of trust, and not because you are not a trusting person, but because people have violated your trust. So the protection that comes into place, it's like the world is not safe and I am not safe in it.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, Trauma and Recovery is one of those books that if you want to know more about fearful avoidant attachment would be a phenomenal book to read. And really anything in abuse, assault, The Body Keeps a Score by Bessel van der Kolk, Peter Levine's book on Waking the Tiger, somatic experiencing. So all of that. Good, Robin. Yes, you have done a lot of work. And it is really good that we honor ourselves and how far that we've come. It's really important.
Yeah. Sorry, the dog came in and my mind went
completely
blank.
So disorganized or fearful avoidant, same sort of terminology. One's just more infant and child. One's more talking about adult love, relationships. Hazen and Shaver didn't really explore fearful avoidant. They really just looked at anxious, ambivalent, and avoidant attachment. What?
I'm just realizing that I completely went offline, and my window of tolerance, like, wow.
How are you? Do you need anything?
No, I'm good. I just had to, when I realized what was going on, it made me laugh.
Yeah, that's
Felt
right.
like I was experiencing it real time because the dog like rushed in.
The difference, I think, with disorganized or fearful avoidant attachment is it never feels safe in your own body or really in the world. And so with anxious and avoidant, there are these places of safety. Like if I'm anxious, ambivalently attached, I can feel safe in the presence of certain people. If I'm avoidantly attached, I can feel safe when I go off by myself to sort of process and put my thoughts together, take care of myself. When you're more disorganized or fearful avoidant, there is no safe place. There's nowhere to go, nowhere to be, not in me and not with you. And so the healing, like that's usually a place that is helpful to have therapy, especially someone trauma informed, especially someone who really understands the somatic experience of trauma and abuse. So that one's also the least researched and studied. I think a couple things probably go into that. It's the smallest percentage anyway, so you're less likely to just find this in the general population. And it's also really difficult to do research with a person who needs so much more resourcing and stabilization, because therapy in and of itself can be a bit intrusive, even though it's helpful and everything. And so you got to be super careful even in researching. So I wouldn't want to do like a control group and an experimental group with someone who had such need for really good help.
Yeah.
You know, so you'd probably have to do like a treatment as usual with some kind of treatment and then like attachment-based stuff. But don't need to be a researcher in this moment. Just kind of talking about these. So if you're finding yourself in one of those insecure attachment strategies, and you might not find yourself there all the time, it usually gets triggered in romantic relationship more than anywhere else, which is why we talk about it from that perspective, because that bond is the only attachment bond you're going to have truly in adulthood, where you really are supposed to depend on each other, to have this reciprocity, to be able to offer care and receive it, to be able to tolerate both closeness and distance, to internalize that love inside of you. So the stakes are high. It's life or death, and it is going to provoke and trigger you more than any other relationship really in adulthood.
Yeah, oftentimes when we're children, this happens in our emotional bond with our parental figures as well. And as you grow up and then you move on to other relationships.
We have an attachment bond to our parents, but our parents are supposed to have an affiliative bond with us. So we depend on them, but they are not supposed to depend on us. And if your parents are depending on you for emotional care, the likelihood of insecure attachment goes way up.
Yes. Which can then, as an adult, draw into other relationships as well.
Yep.
So yeah, all of it ties in.
We're all in this together. Right?
Something, I don't know the words to the song. That's what I'm making up.
Okay, so
I like that. There was a whole 3 chapters of a book right there in what you talked about this morning.
That's true.
Yeah.
I do love writing. Would y'all read a book about this? Do you need a book about this?
I would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From a place like attachment theory needs to be talked about in anti-oppressive ways too, but I digress. Hey, exactly where you are, whatever your attachment strategy is beautiful, and you are amazing, and you can always heal the places inside of you, which securely attached people need to heal too. So you can heal all of those parts. We're just getting really curious and accepting ourselves in those places. I've got work to do. You got work to do. We've all got work to do.
Don't tell me I got work to do. I know I've got work to do.
Yeah. I would again say though, until my book comes out, I would recommend Andy Kolber's book, Try Softer. It's really good. It's a
third day in a row that we
beautiful
mentioned that
read.
book. So.
And Native by Caitlin Curtis is my current
as
favorite.
always.
I'm reading little bits of her words at the time because it really does feel like we're sitting together. And her book is so damn challenging in the best way that I need to process it and be very honest with myself when I'm reading it about where I land on Indigenous things and on issues and, spirituality and faith and Christianity. It's a lot, y'all. There's so many things being
Gotta figure out a lot in this life.
unpacked and uncovered, and I love that. I think it's so incredibly meaningful. What I'm realizing, what happened to me is hearing a little bit about the boat being on fire and beetles and school starting and all that. I'm just very overwhelmed. I'm saturated with sad and hard stories, and a lot of clients of mine and things that I've heard, a lot of people are struggling more than usual. And so what I know that I need is not to check out and quit doing things, right? We just talked about this, but I need to resource myself even more. Yeah. I need to amp up a bit of my care so that I'm more nurtured for myself. P.S. women, let me just speak to the ladies out here, or if you're someone who knows a lady, this might be helpful for you, or femmes, or gender non-conforming, but specifically femininity in our culture. When we talk about self-care, people always talk about it in relationship to other people, as if you are only as valuable as what you can contribute, how you can serve, which is also capitalist, white supremacist, patriarchal bullshit. So you get to take care of yourself because you are worthy of care, period. End of story. And that's not just for the men or male passing folks. in this space, but like women, female passing folks in this space, I want you to hear me say that you get to take care of you because of you, not because you're a wife or sister or server or friend or any of that. Like the messages I always got were fill yourself up so you have more to pour out. So it was always about earning. Like I can't just have some pleasure and enjoy myself. Just for me, it always has to be so that I'm a better worker, so that I'm more productive, so that I can hustle more, or so that I can help you or the kids or my work or whatever more, because it's like we've so been brainwashed in a way in our culture to think that this is like the only way is hustle culture. And I just want to opt out of that. And so if you would like to opt out of that, you don't need my permission. I'm just naming what I've been sharing with myself. You do not have to earn self-care. You do not have to earn self-care. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to be in service of others. Now I'm going to hang this up and I'm going to go write that post immediately what I just said. I will catch you tomorrow. You are so incredibly loved and valued and valuable just as you are. Not as a function of anything else, but just because you're you. And we are working tirelessly to make sure that that's actually true on a more systemic level, a structural level too. And we're not going to stop. Like this is the work. So I'm going to go rest and be creative and play and just like F around a little bit so that I have more to give myself. And then if I choose to give more on the outside of me, I will do that as well. All right. I really do need to go and write that. It's burning my brain. I can see it in my head.
We love you. You got this. We're going to go do some work. We know that you probably will be as well.
Catch a kiss.
Enjoy your day. Thank you for joining us. See you bright and early tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Central Time.
Yes, Rob.
Thank you for joining us on the Come Together Morning Show.
Bye.
Adios.